It's very good exposure.
together
Ramai
all
yang
the. Okay, kita tunggu next time. Because Dato' Latif will be
okay.
sharing. Will be sharing some of the punya tips on so improve our business.
Right.
kind of probing that we do, the kind of engagement that we do, as I said, we need to have strong facts, strong evidence, strong analysis, and then to make sure that it gets the right traction, right? We need to register at the right platform. So I think you're all aware we have got Pemuda, Special Task Force to Facilitate Business. You've got co-chairs, two co-chairs there. That is the Chief Secretary to government representing the government, public sector organization. And of course, you have got the Captain of Industry, the co-chair, which is from the Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers. Now, we get the issue presented there, we get it registered there. And then together with recommendation, we get it presented there. And we even call the regulators to come over, to give their feedback. And at that platform, we make decision, let's say we go for option one. Everyone agrees, then implementation should take place. And we are going to monitor because MPC is the secretariat to the Special Task Force Business Pemuda. Now, apart from Pemuda, we have got the Economic Action Council. We are working very closely on planning unit, which is secretariat to that. For example, Tan Sri Professor Noor Azlan Ghazali, which is the executive director of EAC, he heads the Economic Action Council secretariat. We are doing a lot of engagement with him. We raise some issues. And we even have session with the Minister of Economic Affairs, Datuk Sri Mustafa. We get him to understand. And then by the time we bring it up to the Economic Action Council, we are just going to present facts. We will just provide the issues at hand, and then we give some background and then what recommendation that we are proposing. And we are going to use that platform, same as Pemuda, to monitor implementation. Now, the same thing as us, if there are issues that you think should be bringing up, I think issues should be specific so that we can know the kind of scope, the parameter that we're working on. At the same time, we know what would be the party that we're engaging. Because as I said, we cannot be going too broad. If we're going too broad, then it's going to be diluted. I think it has to be specific. Something that we can really take action right away, something that we can really measure, something that we can really see the impact. So my advice is we need to do homework first. I think at your level, if you do have issues, you have to be very clear what is the issues, and then we need to have evidence. If it's just based on hearsay, general statement, very difficult because if you go to meet up with these ministerial agencies, that is going to be the argument. They say, no, we don't see that way. No, they will start asking a lot more information. But at the upfront, we're able to convince them we really have an issue here. This problem is all the facts. We're going to get them, they have to make decision. And we are going to register, as I've said, with either in Pemuda or the economic action. Right? So we can sit together, draft out what will be our recommendation, issues that we have, and then we can also, work together. Of course, MPC, if you don't mind, we can represent industry to go and meet up with the regulators to discuss on our proposition, our recommendation, and once they agree, when it comes to implementation, all of us, can get involved to make sure that it is implemented. So that would be the approach that I look forward, and that would be also the kind of cooperation, as I said, evidence-based. That I think will really make things very effective when we engage, with all our stakeholders, especially the specific regulators such as the ministries and agencies. Okay, it's interesting. There are questions saying that they get a bit confused. So what's the difference between Pemuda and Malaysia Muda? My Muda. Okay, Pemuda is the acronym for Pasukan Petugas Khas Pemudah Cara Perniagaan, or in English, the Special Task Force to Facilitate Business. It was set up in the year 2007 when Women came up with a report where it features Malaysian law in a very favorable position, especially dealing with consumption permit. We were ranked 130 over. Alright? So Pemuda comprises of members from the public and also private sector. As I've said, you got the chair, which is the chief secretary of the government, and also the president of FMM, that time was Tan Sri Yong. So when Pemuda was set up, that time the chief secretary was Tan Sri Yong. Now, it is a platform, public-private partnership to address issues with regard. Okay? Now, my Muda, it is actually a mechanism concerned anywhere. It is entirely up to the ministry. If they say that you need to wait, yeah, they will start giving excuse. Our process will take 3 months. We have to wait for this committee and all that. Provided what we call a portal, UPC, a Unified Online Public Consultation Portal. Just visit that portal, alright, you and your team can discuss for about the tourism sector, identify what issues that you have, make sure that your issues are very clear, and then you can upload your issues in that MyMuda. Because MyMuda is accessible by our minister and also our stakeholders. Even the Prime Minister, if he wants access, he can look at what are the issues being brought up by the industries. So MPC, we are managing that system, the UPC portal. Now, we don't just analyze, as I've said, through that analysis, we may want to get more information. We will contact, of course, when you provide information, you will have to give your contact numbers and all that so that we can come back. We want to do verification. We want to make sure, the required information is there. And as I've said, we will then register in Pemuda or the Economic Action Council. Alright? So, MyMuda is a vehicle to facilitate. Pemuda is actually a task force. Alright? Where you have got people there from private and the government sector, while MyMuda is actually a vehicle. Right? MyMuda is a vehicle supported by the Unified, Public Consultation Portal. So anyone, in the country, or you may be even in the United States doing business and you find it something difficult, you get feedback from the American counterpart. You can log in from there. So system, is accessible from anywhere. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can log in. We have got the team will get access, and we will come back to you on that. All right. So I hope I've clarified that. As I've said, Muda is actually a public-private partnership, task force. While MyMuda is a vehicle, where we provide a platform for issues to be brought up by the industry, and we will address the issue by registering using that platform to register at Pemuda or the Economic Action Council.
Yeah, Dato. Dato, I had it in I'm so lucky to have that experience with the Malaysia Muda. I found out that Malaysia Muda has a fantastic follow-up and in terms of trying to get the relevant authorities to buy in the new idea, buy in the new suggestions. So there's a lot of success story that Malaysia Muda has delivered to us, the industry. But some of us may not. There's a lot of agenda on the tourism industry, which Malaysia Muda has pushed the agenda all the way to make sure that the industry is still moving and still improving. Shah says working. Shah says recently the yacht and the boaters, where we managed to work together with the immigrations willing to extend it to at the end of the year. So these are some of the success story we have enjoyed by this Malaysia Muda. Maybe Dato, is there any what do you call it? Not the fast track, because we need a fast track. Malaysia Muda has done a good job. How can we at the moment now with the variants, with the new challenges, all the business need to change. Dato has been saying that we need to prepare for the new tourism business model. Perhaps Dato, you can just highlight what kind of tourism business model that we should follow, Dato.
Okay. All right. Okay. First of all, I think on the part of the tourism players, right, you will have to look at probably a different way of doing things. For example, like now, because of all this mess that we're in, all this movement restriction and then the SOP in place and all that, if you're going to do things the same way, you may not be able, to create the kind of result that you wanted. So you have to be creative. All right, you have to be creative. Meaning to say, you will have to review the way that you do things. review also the kind of product that you have came up with, your marketing strategy, your networking, this I think on the part of the business players, you will have to look into. Now, on the part of the government, because MPC we have been mandated to oversee on the reforms and modernization of regulations. So what we do is that we want to make sure that regulations that we have or regulations that we introduce are regulations that facilitate business. We do not want to have regulation that frustrate and create impedance. So that's why under our national policy on good regulatory practice, which is now in place, which we want to make sure that all these agencies adhere to, implement the policy. The requirement is that every regulation, when we say regulations, that we define very clear, it can be law, it can be act, it can be process, procedure, system. These are all regulatory, we call it. So we call it regulations. Their regulations must, as I've said, facilitate, right? They should have industry, not the other way. So regulations also should be something which is efficient. I'm sure a lot of businesses they would like to adhere to. They want to do business. They will get the proper licenses required and all that. But the application process, is it efficient or not? If you are made, if you're asked to make, or you are made to wait for 6 months, 1 year, and all that, I think that's rubbish. Business to me, time is money. If you are made to wait, it's cost, to the businesses. So you want to make sure that regulations are efficient, right? Regulation should be facilitating, and regulation also in terms of decision that we make when we develop any regulation, it must be transparent. So that's why, as I mentioned, you must do consultation. All right, you must register in in our My Mudah portal. Your draft of regulation, the ministry coming up with any regulation, they should any posted in My Mudah, and everyone to be able to provide their insights, their input, their comments, and all that. And all these comments need to be looked into, right? So on our part, we want to make sure that we have quality regulation in place. Chief, quality regulation, the ministry agency, they will have to apply and adhere to the policy where you have got the 7 steps. First of all, if you want to introduce any regulation or changes in any regulation, first, what is your problem statement that you have? What is the problem that you have that warrants you to introduce any regulation or any government intervention? 2, you must be very clear. Any regulation introduced, what is your objective? You don't simply introduce when there is a problem introduced. You must be very clear. Is it because what? You want to cut down costs? Is it because got to do with safety? Is it got to do with security? Is it about revenue generation? You must be clear so that everyone is in the know and everyone can then provide their input, whether it is something that that is worth to be implemented and all that. And we want to make sure that regulation have to go through the RIA process, impact assessment, by looking to all options available. Not doing anything is one option, right? It's one option. But what will be the impact if we were to prolong, the present situation, and let's say if we were to take action using, let's say, option 3, what will be the benefit? So every of these options need to be analyzed, and the best option would that be recommended. Right? So you've got the 7 steps, and then of course consultation is also an element, and then strategy for implementation. We can come up with good regulation, but when it comes to implementation, have problem because why? Some of the regulation when you implement, it does not just come solely under one ministry. It may involve other ministries. For example, you talk about implementation of this, you wanted to license, for there was a license to be introduced by Lembaga Kenaf. Remember, they wanted to control, this smuggling of this rokok illegal ni, rokok dan sebagainya. And then, Kenaf, they got only 30 staff, and they are based in Kelantan. Our next question we ask them, you have got this regulation, you make it requirement, who is going to enforce? Because you're talking about all over the country, you have to work with the PBT. Have you consulted the local authority? What will be their role? Have you consulted also the police? Have you consulted also customs? Because you're talking about movement of goods and all that. But that they cannot answer. So to me, that is a weak regulation that you have introduced because the implementation strategy is not there. So all this need to be looked into, and it must done with engagement with the business community. So that business community if they can understand, they see benefits and actually trying to help, the businesses and also the economy. I think everyone will come on. So benefit must be, put up front, and then what will be the impact on the business? Of course, government at the end of the day, you're talking about collecting taxes and all that. There's no point you talk about collecting taxes, but business are not growing. So this is the same. I mean, this is the kind of understanding that we want everyone to understand. While government facilitate, ensure business grow, and government also need to understand their revenue is also coming from the businesses. So this is a kind of approach that we do. And we keep on reminding even a lot of government officers that I met. I told them, even my officers in meeting, I said, look, we can't be sitting for not doing anything. I said, well, you look out there. There are a lot of people experiencing hardship, grappling with cash flow and all that. We are fortunate because the government civil servant, we are still getting our pay. But do you foresee, if this situation continues, let's say for the next 6 months, then you think that even civil servants get affected? Where does our pay come from? I asked them, you punya gaji datang daripada mana? And then they realize some of them, I don't think so, they don't realize that sometimes they don't see things, coming very soon. So this is the kind of approach that we do. I think it must be evidence-based, it must be done through engagement, and it must also involve everyone who has got stake in every decision that we make.
Yeah. Okay, guys, for the benefit of those who just joining in, we have our special guest from Malaysia Productivity Corporation, Director General of MPC yang berbahagia Datuk Abdul Latif Haji Abu Jamal. We are talking about improving productivity during pandemic. Is it possible? That's why we are ngupas idea how to improve our business, how to improve productivity, even though we are facing tough challenges during the pandemic. Okay, we like to invite anybody as suggestion, as saya maybe to pass to Datuk Zul. Datuk Zul.
Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah. Silakan Datuk.
Salam awal Muharram Datuk.
Ayah sama awal Muharram, Allahu Akbar ya. Sama-sama kita berdoakan terbaik ya buat semua rakyat Malaysia.
Untuk semua rakyat Malaysia. Dan I believe ASOS is still in the clubhouse because I can smell durian. Okay, tu.
Pesta durian ya.
Okay, tu. Alhamdulillah jumpa ASOS. Okay, tu. Straight to the question. Nombor satu, budaya productivity culture. The small unit of a country has always been the family. Dan sekarang ni kita ni bekerja from home. So, what is your advice on the approach untuk membudayakan productivity or to create a productivity culture among the Malaysian families? Itu soalan yang pertama. Yang kedua, nak tanya tentang My Mudah tu, thank you for your explanation. That is where people post up problems, challenges they have in dealing with government machinery. And of course, you are right, Datuk, it's about data. So I was just wondering whether the data of complaint, from the business sector towards the machinery, all this complaint data, if it's been deposited in My Mudah, what is usually the timeline they require to solve the thing? Dan berkaitan tu juga, my dream is bila rakyat ataupun business community deal with any agency of the government, which is the machinery of the government, kita ada tracking number tu. Macam kita order barang from digital platform, there's always a tracking number. Begitu juga any food delivery is tracking. So orang tengah prepare your food and then the rider picks it up. So I was wondering someday we will have a tracking number for any processes atau any application yang kita buat dengan agensi kerajaan. Itu saja tu.
Okay. Thank you, Datuk Zul. Okay, you've got two questions that you brought up. First about productivity culture. Yes. I think productivity will have, it begins from home lah. Right? You have to start from home. Home here, I define not just our family. I think organization that we represent. Now, let's look at from the social perspective, a family unit. Well, we have to walk the talk. Right? Productivity is about being efficient. It's about being able to go for more with less. Right? Doing more with less. Now, I can just share very simple example under this PKP. How do you make full use of the time staying at home? Because I've already instructed that all my staff since January last year, not only March when PKP or MCO was introduced, we have already been working from home. So I told them you have to make full use of the time. And in fact, I found out that we tend to be more productive. Saya bagi contoh ya Datuk Zul. Saya kadang ni kalau nak sembahyang main duha kan. Saya dapat ni saya terpaksa curi-curi masa. Itu curi masa tengok tak ada meeting apa. Okay, buat 2 rakaat. I'm not at the office, I mean at home. While waiting from meeting to one meeting, and then tengok ada lapse of 1 hour.
Yeah.
Saya boleh buat 6 rakaat. Saya buat witir 3. Dulu satu-satu saja witir 1 rakaat. Ini contoh mudah ya.
Yeah.
Yang kedua, in between while you are waiting for another engagement, what do you do? I've got a lot of books which I've got, dalam bentuk I've been getting review from IB Nancy. Ada 6 buku saya tak sempat baca. Since last year, I was able to read through all that. Because why? While waiting, because when you work from home, you don't have to travel. Every day have to race through traffic. About 1 hour every day to and fro. 2 hours every day. Just imagine savings of 2 hours.
Yes.
I could do a lot. But of course, at the same time, wife pun complain. Dia kata, duduk kat rumah ni abang ni. Tak jalan banyak ni. Dia kata, pinggang kita ni nampak lebih besar. Lepas saya movement tak banyak kan.
Yeah.
So what do I do? No, I get my 2 children to join me. Kadang-kadang kita saja ni, turun naik tangga. And then you make sure that, we fill out our time productively. So every day, after asar, asar dalam 4:40, 45, after asar at 5:30, we do gardening. We got trees around our house. They're helping their mother, and I'm helping my wife. My wife is also gardening. You sweat a lot, with the kind of temperature of there, you sweat a lot. Now, malam pula tu, because if during the normal days, I come sometimes maghrib, sometimes 9 p.m. But now working from home, tak kali waktu semayang you boleh jemaah.
Yes.
Tak malam.
Solat on time.
Awal Muharram kita boleh berdoa sekali, ada doa untuk tahun, doa awal tahun, we can do it together. Termasuk juga when you're staying at home, this is a time you spend more time with your loved ones, your family, your children. Kita duduk sama-sama. Selalunya wife ni selalu duduk cerita, dia buat menu baru, kita kadang dengar, kita ni mind so occupied, we just came back from office, the only time we have night time lah. Sebelum tidur nak tunggu besok pergi office. And I have time to listen to her. I give her a lot of attention. And she giving me good feedback. Dia kata, bagus dia kata, work from home ni nampak abang lebih banyak bergerak. Sebelum ni balik pun kat office, ambil balik rumah pun. While you are looking at her, but your mind wonder, she knows that. Yeah? So, your time management, and then of course, under the present situation, we have to change the way that we do things, because I try to reduce going out of the house, unnecessarily. Yeah, because we used to go out, we used to go because we like to do shopping. But now you can't do because I'm living in Shah Alam, in Selangor, an area which is highest.
Yeah.
Cases. So what we do, we have to do ordering lah. Yeah. So we avoid going out. But of course, you get the children and your wife, you sit down and then you work and think, okay, this is the amount that you're going to spend. Right? So we have to make sure we spend within this, this budgeted. So this is what I call productive mindset. You educate your children, you use your time more, effectively, you manage things, more efficiently, better time management. That to me is productivity. Now at the office, I think many of you are aware some of the activities that we do because we conduct, training, we conduct, forum, we conduct convention, we have annual, conferences. But now, with the SOP in place, we are not allowed. We just cannot. I have 300 officers nationwide. We support staff. I cannot be telling them we cannot do anything. Then we just say no.
Yeah.
I said let's be creative. And of course, we still have our board meeting every quarter. What is it that we need to report?
Yeah.
But of course, one indicator that we report our KPI is on revenue. But revenue is not coming to like you people. You're also affected. We're also affected because businesses cannot come to our program because most of our participants are from industry.
Yes.
So I told the chairman, I'm not going to report my revenue anymore because you're going to expect the next few months revenue is going down the drain. I cannot be giving you a report which shows that I'm on the declining trend.
Yeah.
So we have to be creative. So what we do is that let's look at other value creation. So what we do is that we presented to them in terms of our outreach. Before this, we were able to reach out to 300,000. Now we can go to 1 million. And then they were so impressed. They said, "Oi, you're under this situation, you're more productive." Yes, I said, we are using technology because we don't have to move anywhere.
Right.
You don't have to, you don't have to rent, spaces at hotel. You don't need to, convention hall. Because let's say the biggest convention hall can only accommodate 2,000. We
Right.
use day one at MITI, they can only accommodate at most about 2 to 4,000.
Right.
But when you go online, like the program I had with the chief minister, when we launched the Sarawak Productive, we have 80,000 following through social media and all that. So this is what we call being creative, being innovative, being productive. We have to look at different way of doing this. Now, we cannot conduct training. Of course, you cannot have physical presence. That doesn't mean that you cannot conduct training. We are still conducting training. We go online. We use, this micro, film, a lot of different ways of meeting. Even we have companies participating in our convention. They present their project all online.
Yes.
Even assessment of excellent award organization. We have our industry. I propose even to the council. I said, if you're going to wait in this situation, back to normal, can anyone give me a definite date? So for the last 18 months, we are still going to wait to go on physical ground to do the assessment. I don't think so it's going to be completed. So I said, can we do remote? And we realized private hospital, because they are very stringent, because they are dealing with health and life, they are doing remote assessment. And their assessors are from the United States. And the feedback we got, so we thought when you go remote, it's going to be, simple, a little, relaxed. They said, no, it is much more tough. Because why? You go remote, is recorded. You are using video, and video ni dia boleh patah balik lah.
Yeah.
Kalau you physical, different.
Yeah.
These are the things that we are doing differently in MPC now. We are using a lot of technology, we do training, we do research, we do conferences. Even our board meeting, we can do it online. So the chairman said, if you want meeting even in the next 2 days, yes, we said we can do it. So productivity to me is about continuously thinking of better ways to do things. So starting from home is about managing your time, managing your resources, managing your expenditure, right? Managing your relationship with your loved ones. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if you have got a healthy family, not just physically healthy, but also mentally healthy, you are productive.
Yeah. Thank you, Dato'.
Thank you, Dato', for asking that question. Interesting.
So business as usual.
Well, Dato', as you know that MPC is one of the first government agency who has adapted what they call webinars. I still remember that last year, I think almost every day, all the MPC's departments has conducted a webinar and very successfully organized. And again, talking about working from home, working from home, there is this trend in the US. In the US, there's a record number of Americans who are quitting their jobs because they are so comfortable working from home. They don't want to go out. So I was told that nearly 4 million people, Americans, left their job recently because they were saying, hey, why should I go out? Why I can work from home? Why should I go out? Go through all these traffic nightmares, all these metropolitan tubes and the trains, everything, and exposed to the crime, the mugging, everything. Whereas they can work from home. And this is actually a concern to us because we might have having this what they call it a drain balance. We probably it's very difficult for us to find a workforce if the trends in US be adapted here in Malaysia. What is your advice? Working from home, yes, but this in other words, it also invites some challenges for the employers to find a new balance, a new stuff. That's all.
Yeah, there's a good question about it, Dato'.
Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. Before I respond to your question, I think that Zoldi mentioned about testing. Some of those issues being brought up and then monitoring all that. Okay, for your information, Dr. Zul, since we introduced our MyMuda, we have collected 453 issues. They are all in our repository. Okay. And out of that 463, we have 126 which we have analyzed, and then we have come up with recommendation. We have even engaged, with the regulators, the respective agencies. We have already presented, and we are now monitoring the implementation. of those, resolution, right, which we have presented either at Bunda or the Economic Action Council, right?
Okay.
Now, coming back to Zaidi, I believe in one thing, Zaidi, those years before we have this COVID-19 pandemic, I was always looking forward. Every month, looking for a break. You want to take leave, you want to spend time, with family and all that. I think everyone would agree on that. Huh? But then I realized since March last year, we are now in August this year, is already what? Almost 1.5 years. And I realized that you can't be staying and working from home forever. And I miss, and I take it as a blessing every time when there is a meeting, as you call me up, at the last time, you can always come over to attend visit. My God, I take it as a break because I need to get fresh air out there.
Yes.
And of course, I have to adhere to SOP. And I go to tea. I take it really as, really home, since January last year. We implemented what we call MPC Go Digital. We already anticipated by March. Government is to implement its BDR and all that. We've been working since January last year. But then I realized not everything needs to remain virtual, right? Not everything you can work from home. You have to be selective. And I make it a point now, in a week, once or twice, I must go to the office because there are certain things you have to manage with physical presence. For example, I have allowed my special officer, my personal assistant, my secretary to use my digital signature in many of the documents, but these are all low risk. But then when it comes to something sensitive, certain document, I don't allow that. I will come down, I have to really go through, and I put my pen, right? Same thing, there are some issues that we come across, from our staff. You cannot go online because when you go online, it's recorded, right? So you need to discuss, face to face. Very selective, not all. And there are a lot of things that you can resolve, through physical interaction. Of course, you need to adhere to the health protocol, social distancing and all that. So what I'm saying, there is no one size fit all. I believe in one thing, it should be a hybrid kind of approach. That is what we are doing. Even in the office, we allow the essential services. That also we told them you have to be creative. You can't have the whole team there because if one get affected, the whole unit will have to be closed. So we have got 3 batches. And they are very creative. And they work, every 4 or 5 hours, and then another team. So let's say one team get affected, the whole team, let's say, they have to be grounded. You still have another 2 more teams, right? And I leave it also to the respective supervisors to decide whether they want to go online or they want to have a physical presence, right? And but I told them, you decide what would be the best way and most productive. And I'm finding that people are more happy because you provide them choices. But of course, those who work from home, I can tell you one thing, I find that I'm more productive. But there are certain things, certain matters, you cannot work from home all the time. You still need to go back to the old way of doing things. So, jangan ni apa, Zaidi, kalau you pengantin baru, kalau you kahwin, semua you online. So, kata you tak boleh lah. Like my wife dia kata, working from home and all that. Dia kata, you want to have your lunch. You're going to be at the office all day. What? Lunch can go online. Cannot. Have to come back home. So, I think we should provide choices, right? It should be a hybrid kind of approach. But at the same time, you need to have a clear guideline. Clear guideline so that will guide what is right and what is wrong. Like now, I cannot supervise every piece of my officer. I can't. But I provide them broad guideline. But in short, I told them, I just want result, I just it's a result, but I don't want problem. Understood? So they know what I meant. Meaning to say, don't break the law, don't go things against regulation, don't go things, which is something that I don't like. They understand that. So these will be my broad guideline. And every fortnight, once every 2 weeks, I call up meeting, I get them to report. Alright, and that will be my monitoring to see whether They have work to do. They have, they have been delivering. They've got deliverable that and so target to meet. So the mechanism is there.
Fantastic, Dato'. Fantastic, Dato'. Maybe we open up for any questions, Azmi?
Assalamualaikum. Dato'.
Salam.
My question is very simple because I've been following MPC, which is very good. In 2019, there's a public consultation for STRA guideline, which is in 2019. But I do not know after that what will happen because currently it's 2021. Since then, actually I'm one of the stakeholders yang will be affected and on the guideline. So I'm currently macam hanging on this particular guideline. So I nak tanya what's after that because it's already been 2 years after the public consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Cik Azmi. Good question. I'm aware about this initiative in very detail because my officers are reporting to me. We have done the needful, we have done the consultation, we have done the impact study. In fact, we have even come up dengan guideline. I think the guideline has also been, finalized. Now, we want to get the cabinet approval. There were issues because I think when the Azmail, we have got the KPKT or JKT, which oversees the local authority, local government. And of course, you also have the tourism industry because you're talking about this short, homestay, short accommodation, all that. So that may come also under tourism. So there have been sort like what you call a tug of war. One saying the other and all that. And of course, because MITI oversees industry in Malaysia, so industry covers all sectors, whether tourism and all that. So we came to the agreement that we will prepare. In fact, there is already a joint cabinet paper. We put up to the cabinet, let cabinet decide. Susah sangat dia orang ni nak decide. Saya sendiri bagi tahu pada KSU, susah-susah tak apalah, kita boleh lah, but will they agree tak? Nanti kita dikata melihat ambil dia orang kecil pula. MPC mudah saja. MPC, our job is simple. If others dia tak nak buat, bagi kita buat, bagi hitam putih. Tapi kalau kita nak buat nanti, jangan pula kata kita buat kerja dia orang.
Setuju?
He asked me about regulation. There's already a circular way back 20 years ago. But it is not being undertaken. So under the Time Malaysia Plan, you identify MPC to do. So kita buat. Kalau satu hari dia kata nak balik ambil. Central agency lah, mana-mana lah. So same thing. There is already a cabinet paper for your information. We prepared, our issue is in the know. We have also briefed our minister. I think it's about cabinet decision. Siapa yang patutnya menang, yeah? Because coming up with this guideline is one thing, but getting implemented, yeah, you need to have one ministry. Of course, it's going to be whole of government effort, but one ministry must be in charge. Macam sekarang ni MPC buat semua, kita in charge, tapi we involve everyone. So for your information, yeah, the cabinet paper is already been prepared. But then as you know lah, with the kind of situation sampai hari ni, tak dibawa lagi bincang, ya. Mana ya guideline tu dah more or less ya, dah finalize dan sebagainya. So nanti bila cabinet decide siapa yang patut drive benda ni, and then before it comes implementation, we mesti have to come to industry to brief balik supaya bila pelaksanaan, because we need to get the, yeah. So for your information, I am in the seen that guideline. I've been engagement with my KSU. I've been engagement with Dato' Seri YB Nancy. We are also in engagement also with the Ministry of Housing and Local Government. Cuma sekarang ni dekat cabinet decision tu, which ministry is going to drive. So more or less, it is already at the final stage to decide who to take charge. That is what I can share. But good that since you raise this thing, maybe in the post-cap meeting this Wednesday, my minister is calling up for post-cap meeting. I think I will raise this matter to him. Just nak follow up. So it's good for you to raise this thing, and I'm going to ask him, tanya what happened lah. Ini industry is asking so much will have been put into, we have done engagement, we have done analysis, and then kita dimaklumkan guideline pun dah keluar, lepas tu dah buat engagement dengan KPKT, dengan MOTEC, dengan MITI. So sekarang ni nak tahu decision. Kalau saya kata dekat cabinet, so when can we have the cabinet decision lah.
Okay, thank you, Dato'. Cuma nak tambah lagi satu, Dato'. Because why all the stakeholders, especially the usahawan, do not get anything from the Penjana budget from till now because of this thing pending. So that's the thing affecting us lah. That's why we've been asking on this lah.
Okay. You have been working dengan apa ni Encik Alamin kan? Alamin MPC.
No. I'm the 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 industry player itself. Yeah.
Okay. Alright. I will follow up on this postcard meeting this Wednesday. I'll ask the minister, and then probably I can come back to you. See what will be his response lah. But I'm sure kalau sekarang ni mungkin dalam kepala menteri-menteri kita ni dia ada banyak dia punya priority lain tu.
Betul. Thank you,
But
Dato'.
whatever we have to do our part, I'll do my part.
Okay, thank you, Dato'. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have also on stage Dr. Albert, is the president of Malaysian Chinese Tourism. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, President Saidi, Datuk Latif, tourism industry players. A very good evening. My name is Albert Tan. I'm the president from the Malaysian Chinese Tourism Association. I just want to share with all the industry players here, especially the tourism president. So, whenever the government or the Tourism Malaysia make some announcement, open up for people to travel cross states, just like yesterday, that our Prime Minister make the announcement, allow people to able to cross the what we call the interstate, and on our tourism association president, so we used stand out to show our support for the government statement, and whenever we make the supporting statement, and we used to get those public, they are not in the tourism industry, they always shoot us back, criticize us, some even curse us, always say, you industry players only look at your industry business. You are not care about safety, the life of the Malaysian, So my comment is, I hope whenever the government, especially makes some what we call statement about tourism related announcement, I hope Tourism Malaysia side at least someone who follow up and make further announcement to support the government statement in a way enlighten the consumer why the government is open up the tourism industry business. So in order to easier for all our tourism association president, because we are always looking positive and always supporting the government, supporting Malaysia's statement, Maybe later I can hear some comments from Dato'. And my second question is, the government tourism subsidy for travel agent, the $3,000, they put under phase 3. And on our side, most of our travel agent industry players, we are nearly in need of cash. Looking back the pandemic during the year 2020 until 2022, one, the travel agent only get $3,000 subsidy from Tourism Malaysia. With this additional 3,000, which is not a big sum, we don't understand why we have to wait until the phase 3. What happened if this pandemic prolong? Some of the states still stay at the phase 2 level. So we had to wait until when? So maybe can I hear some comments from Dato', please? Thank you.
Albert Tan, I think Zaidi,
Yeah.
we have got the Malaysian Tourism Council, kan? Have you brought up this matter with the respective burning? Because this is more about the funding and also the assistance package, coming from the government.
Dato', I think all the president, like for example, Dato' Albert from the MCTA, from MATA, from MA, I think they have brought up the minister herself. The only thing is probably the in terms of delivery. I mean, I'm thinking everybody has tried their best, and probably delivery, for example, in terms of the Bank Negara, they have their own delivery system through the commercial bank. So this is a different topic all over. But again, again, this in terms of what Dato' has mentioned, that we want the business to be open, but probably some of the publics, they don't understand. They say, why do you need to open up? It will create make us worse. We create the so these are some conflicts that we are facing. Dato'.
Maybe I can add on something on this, Dr. Albert. So I'm the MA secretary of the Negeri Sembilan chapter. So is Malaysia Association of Hotel didn't always support, and we did criticize the government's the decision on whatever it is. But we voice up to government, but government didn't take action or whatever. Maybe they're step by step or whatever. But we're still looking positive on it. So those are negative netizens to criticize. Don't take so hard on that. So no hard feeling on that, because anything you have announced or whatever, there will be a negative point of view, there is a positive point of view. So don't take so serious on those criticism. So let it be. But we always, as a leader of the tourism, we must always positive and support our subordinates and our players to give hope on that. It's not that so all those subsidy on government, we cannot highly depend on government. So we have to find way for survival. Or does this help you? My comments.
Okay, earlier it was about subsidy. Okay, can you register? I think the explanation given by Uzaidi is about Uzaidi. You mentioned about yes, announcement were made, but whether the funds that were announced has it reached? You're talking about the process, efficiency of the process, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So can if I may suggest, can you register in our My Muda? When we have the information registered there, at least we can escalate to the relevant authority. So get it registered there. What are your concerns? Right. We will then do the analysis. We will check on the and verify your feedback, and then we will then do the engagement. We're going to ask the respective parties involved whether whether the allocation that was announced has it reached, and then give us feedback lah. If some of you have not got it, and then we will check what are the bottlenecks in between. Okay, that was the second question asked by Dr. Albert.
Yeah.
Now the first is about announcement. The announcement, you remember I mentioned about when I mentioned about the RIA strategy, Ready Impact Assessment. Yeah, 7 steps. Remember the last step, strategy for implementation? The government announced it's good to make good announcement, music to ears, to all to the ears of all citizens. But when it comes to implementation, so that's why I think before it is being announced, I think government will have to sit down. What would be the best way to go and reach out and explain? Because I'm sure every announcement that make, we should be able to correct every policy. So I think when we just announce, you see, living in a society where citizens are getting more critical, they have their own views. So that's why I mentioned the approach that MPC does. Make sure that we have all the facts, we have all the evidence. So when we sit with them, if they say, yeah, you people just think about business or that, then we say, look, this is the situation for the last 18 months. Of course, we give a lot of attention on livelihood and safety of our Malaysians. If we want to prolong collapse, livelihood of nations also will collapse. Would you agree with me?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
All right. So
yes.
this is what we have to get them to understand. But we need to explain now. Malaysia, at least we have reached almost 50% of immunity, herd immunity. I must have got my CFP for 3 more weeks to ensure that immunity is at its maximum.
Okay, Dato.
For the last 1.5 years, we have been putting lockdown on business and all that. I think it's high time we have to start open up slowly, but at the same time, we want to make sure that vaccination process goes on at a balance, looking into livelihood at the same time looking into the economic survival of the country.
Thank you, Dato'.
Yeah, Datuk and President Butadi, I just like to highlight my points. So, what I mean, whenever the Tourism Association make the statement to support the government policy to support tourism Malaysia, and in the Facebook, in the internet, there's always other party try to criticize us. So I hope on the Tourism Malaysia side, at least someone, a higher authority, can ever, like what you mentioned, ever to further enlighten the public why on the government side they want to open up the tourism business. So at least for cruise public, they are undecided. Instead of receive all these what we call negative comments and give a bad impact to our tourism industry players. At least besides the private sector, the statement to support the government, at least Tourism Malaysia on the government side further follow up what we call supporting statements, flat statements. So that helps a lot. This is my personal point of view. And back to Andy, I'm like you. We are always think positive.
Yes.
We are not really so care about the party, but I just want to highlight this to the government sector. And then coming back to my subsidy of $3,000, we are only allowed to register and apply after the announcement of the phase 3. I mean, until now, we still not able to register. We have to wait until the government announcement until the phase 3. Then only the travel agent able to register. Later part, then only Tourism Malaysia side of the fund will release to the travel agents. So this is what happened now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
I think I know where you're coming from, Dr. Albert. I think for your first question, with regards to the announcement, okay, if I may share, you see in MPC, when there is any statement made that government has got to do with productivity, they mention about this financial package, they mention about My Digital, anything that touches on productivity, my team at MPC will sit down, there is something that we have to respond. Because productivity is our business, MPC is business. So we make sure like My Digital, they mentioned that we need to have an agile regulation, we need to support startup. And it is mentioned MPC, let's say, will be mandated. So we don't just keep quiet. What we do, the team will sit down for the next 1-2 days. We will prepare our response so that we can then publish to explain, this is MPC position. Yes, MPC will take up. We are going to do a lot of engagement. We're going to, set up a mechanism to ensure that startup at least, 5,000, by the next 3 years, they will get registered easily. We will do even away with unnecessary regulation. Then we explain why we need to do this. So I think the same thing, anything got to do, let's say, with some announcement that may relate with the tourism sector, they may relate with the tourism sector. I think we have to prepare our response. Right, our response, I think, is what Dr. Albert mentioned. Okay, from tourism, let's say, you may find that you can anticipate there will be, netizens out there who are going to provide their feedback. But at least you have to make your stand very clearly, be rational, your support, what is the benefit, of this package being announced, and then what will be the role of, the tourism association. I think that would help a lot. That is what we do. Every time anything got to do with the world of MPC, whether productivity, competitiveness, regulation, if there is any announcement made by any minister, we will review that statement and see in what way the MPC can clarify so that we can also address concern of the rakyat at large. That would be my response. And I think for the subsidy, I think there are reasons, I think, why the government mentioned it is only during the third phase. But I think the tourism sector, you have got your platform. I think it's good to do engagement also with the government, especially MOF asking the rationale why until the third phase. I think there is always a channel, to channel your concern, to them. But from the point of MPC, we can always look into if the process is burdensome, if the process is taking too long, if the process doesn't make sense, then we will build up a case and we will definitely be engaging, with the relevant authority to get their, explanation, and at the same time, we would recommend to help them, to mitigate the problem.
Yeah. Thank you, Dato'.
Thank you, Dato'. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Albert. Talking about platform, we have one of our entrepreneur, Zahira. She is the owner of the digital platform. She's been championing to make sure that all our players are to be on board, to make sure that all our inventory are available in Europe, available all over the world, available in Japan through the channel manager. So perhaps Zahira, you have anything, any issues, any suggestions to Dato'? Zahira?
Assalamualaikum, Dato'. Thank you so much. Basically, I've been quite active in MPC lately, but we have never met. I've been dealing with your team. Just few points that if you can take this into consideration. Currently, when tourism company, travel agents, when we want to renew license every 3 years or depending maybe 1 year, we have to go through TTMC or TTEC course. All right, and it costs us around 700 ringgit. And recently, there's a lot of travel agents have been highlighting. And moreover, the cost is not effective. All right, we do have instructors coming over and talking about ACTA, but unfortunately, that's not the reality of the business. However, my point is, MATEX has been a very, very good documentation and process by MPC, and evaluating every travel agent on every indicators and every point from business processes, from office environment up to accounting and other procedures. And from my point of view, I've been an accessor myself. While accessing a lot of companies, a lot of travel companies fail in terms of fulfilling a lot of criteria. However, if a company follow the MATEX indicator and have a proper documentation, that will actually ease them in getting help, getting loans, getting penjana. Because what happens is a lot of product operator or travel agencies in Malaysia, they are operating a very kedai runcing, to be very frank. So what happened is when they want to apply help in current situation, government was giving penjana, government was giving a lot of soft loan, 1 year waiver and all that. It's a lot of actually available. Unfortunately, a lot of travel companies are unable to utilize that because of not having enough documentation. So my point is, why don't MPC get more tech rather than we have the TTEC and TTMC, abolish that, have MATEX document as an indicator moving forward.
issue been raised with Motec before this?
I'm not very sure Encik Uzaidi if we have raised, because to be very frank, Encik Uzaidi is very active from our side as well. So I think I'm not sure from who this should go to Motex, because we need to regulate the travel industry for a better performance.
Zahira, sorry Uzaidi, sorry Dato, Alex here dari Langkawi. Zahira, I think a lot of the NGOs, travel agents, have asked for it to be abolished. A lot of it is already, they've already approached Motec to abolish the courses because we feel it's outdated and unwanted. Okay. Your idea of a proper one, I agree. It makes more sense. One proper this thing.
Yeah, if you, I'm not sure, sorry, Dr. Alex, if not sure whether you have gone through the matrix indication, Dato' Tangga, Encik Uzaidi, Dato' Noor, and all, they have been campaigning that. And, if you go through the process, or any travel company is being evaluated by the matrix certification, I tell you that they will actually go to the next level, in terms of digitalization, in terms of having proper accounting, documentation, that will be better for future, or else we will still have problems. We can speak about digitalization, we can speak about everything and anything, but nothing will achieve.
I agree. Dato' Tuan Yuzaidi, I'm here in Langkawi. I'm a inbound, outbound travel agent. I don't have buses and cars, but I have a fleet of yachts. Every time I have to maintain it, and when we shut down, to restart costs me about 80 to 100,000 ringgit to get my staff at all ready. The productivity part is killing me. I have to maintain my staff at all times because I have two licenses, one under Motec and one under MOT. Both I have to maintain a very high standard to be able to get my commercial operation licenses. So, we need to be more, the government needs to be more productive towards our needs. We need some flexibility and a clear understanding of what do they exactly want from all of us, when you say phase 1, phase 2 and all that, what are we heading for? What do we need? As somebody said just now, I have received many inquiries. People want to come. People are confident they want to come to Langkawi for holidays. We're already getting a lot of inquiries, although we are in phase 1. They're just looking forward to the future. So I think getting people to travel is not the problem. But as Zaira says, the standard we have has to be one major standard with a certain set of rules and regulations. If that's possible, Dato', it'd be nice if MPC can look into it,
Okay, thank you, Alex. Alex, you're from Langkawi, yeah? I hope
Dr. Alex from the Langkawi.
Dr. Alex, okay. Okay, apa ni, Cik Zaidi, I'm just wondering, do I have any of my MPC colleagues with me in this session?
We have Dr. Edi.
Dr. Zaidi, are you with us?
Let me see if he's either.
Yeah, let's invite him to the room.
And also we have Zahid as well, right?
Okay, never mind. Cik Zaidi, if I may suggest, can't just be up-based, alright? As I've said, evidence-based, alright? Let's have a separate session, look at the issue, look from the angle of cost benefit and all that. If we were to maintain the present practice requirement, what will happen? We will do analysis on that. But we were to change what would be the tremendous benefit. Now, at the same time, come up with some recommendation which we're going to look into. MPC will facilitate, and we can then approach the right authority. We tell them we have to do something, we have to change because things are not favorable. If we were to do this, these are going to be the positive impact on the country. So I would like to have my officer, if Dr. Jayadi is with me here, or Nick Nazarina, which is the officer in charge for this tourism nexus. If you will have a separate session, I need all the evidence, right? We can go online to discuss. Then we build up our case, and we will get it registered at the right platform, so that our recommendation can be, accepted. with the value that we are proposing, and then later when it comes to implementation, then we can use that platform, either Pemuda or Economic Action Council, to monitor. Do I make sense with that? Dr. Alex?
Yes, Dato. Thank you, Dato. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to put our case forward to the government.
All right. So I'll get my officer to do the necessary engagement with the right persons in this group. We need to have that information. We need to build up a proper case before we get it escalated. Lady, you want to say anything on that, Lady?
Doctor, Muriadi, you have anything?
Yes, Dato. I can hear. So,
Lady, I thought you have flown away somewhere.
No, I'm still following the discussion, very interesting discussion. So, it's okay. My team will follow up and then try to assist. And then appreciate if Dato could register the issue so that we can get the data, the information to bring forward this issue. Thank you, Dato. Yeah.
So, Dr. Alex, ini macam kerja polis lah. You kena buat report, baru polis buat investigation, ambil action. Tak ada report, tak boleh lah. Tak ada kuasa.
Okay, Dato, kita buka IP dulu.
Buka IP dulu. Register dalam MyMudah. Ya, MyMudah.
Dato', we have also on stage daripada Bumitra Travel Agent Association, Cik Amran. Amran, you have anything, Amran?
Yeah. Thank you, speaker and panel, especially our special guest, our Dato from MPC and the team, and also the tourism industry player. Cik Uzaidi, speaker saya, kalau boleh saya kongsi dan dalam bentuk bertanya soalan.
Teruskan tuan.
Saya MPC, saya cuba mengambil peluang dan ruang ini. Adakah contoh ya dalam road to tourism ini, as a travel agent, kita digesa untuk membuat produk yang baru dan juga inisiatif dan juga inovatif. Tetapi apa yang kita hadapi tengkangan ataupun masalah, pertama, fresh image. Yang saya maksudkan, kita untuk membuat produk, kita tidak ada gambar-gambar yang fresh dan terkini untuk dijadikan design dan juga kopi dan sebagainya. Apakah MPC boleh memainkan peranan sebagai orang tengah supaya image-image terkini ini di dalam tourism produk dapat diambil sebagai travel agent, dibuat produk dan dijual dalam bentuk inovatif itu ataupun platform dan dapat diwujudkan melalui panel-panel dan juga tadi saya dengar ada daripada mungkin Zarina itu Arif tentang digital dan sebagainya. Dan kedua, kalau boleh saya sentuh juga, ini bukan subsidi tapi road to tourism ini melibatkan produk-produk owner untuk mula berniaga. Kalau boleh MPC sampaikan kepada kabinet dia, produk-produk owner yang melibatkan tourism ini sama ada penginapan biasa dan penginapan dan sebagainya perlukan modal pemula. Bukan pemulih, kita masih di tingkat pemula sekarang. Sekolah modal telah diumumkan semalam, like mungkin ada sedikit untuk domestik. So tetapi kita menghadapi masalah untuk touch-up dan repair servis dan sebagainya accommodation kita. So boleh kongsi dengan saya sedikit speaker dan juga panel. Itu aja. Terima kasih Tuan Zadi memberi peluang.
Pada Bumitra Travel Agent. Sebenarnya yang marketing, kita tahu Malaysia adalah ataupun agensi yang bertanggungjawab untuk mengeluarkan produk, collateral dan juga in terms of modal tu mungkin ada modal. Tapi mungkin Datuk boleh ada satu input yang advice pada rakan-rakan kita, Datuk.
Okey, saya punya respon. Okay, I think people in the industry they are much more familiar lah because you are in the business, you understand lah. what are the requirements, what are the challenges that you are facing and all that. Now, since we have got this Nexus, Zaidi, Tourism Nexus, can we use this platform, especially tadi Cik Amran mention ya, tentang apa ni, ialah talking about being innovative, coming up with something new and all that. But I remember each of these Nexus, we all stand guided by the 5 trusts, remember? 5 trusts kan? We are not just talking into the kind of talent that industry require. We don't look also in terms of technology. We look also in terms of empowering the industry, where we talk about the relating incentive with productivity. So I think maybe we can use this tourism Nexus ni. These are two things that we can use this platform to discuss. Whatever request that we're going to make or whatever issues that we need to address, we have to build up. Yeah, build up case dulu, get all the relevant information so that we can see the issue or the problem in a very clear manner, so that we can then justify that we do have an issue, and then we will then explore what would be the options that we have. So sebelum kita nak bawa pergi ke mana-mana pihak tu, I think we will have to sit down with us first. Let's do analysis, let's build up our case, and at the same time, kalau boleh we come up also with some recommendation supaya bila kita jumpa dengan mana pihak, kita minta dia buat keputusan saja daripada push this problem to them. Sometimes they can't think. They may not be in the position to respond, but at least we facilitate them to make decision. Now, I've got my colleague here, Dr. Nojayadi. Dr. Nojayadi is our director from, he oversees the Delivery Management Office of MPC, which oversees all the nexus, the 9 productive nexus of MPC. Jadi, you want to share your thoughts on what has been brought up, the 2 issues, brought up by Cik Amran?
Yeah, Dato, just for information, in fact, under tourism productivity nexus already embarked on various initiatives related to technology. For example, my virtual experience, where they develop the virtual products to assist the product owner to continue their program, their services through virtual services, which is related to the issues. Of course, it's slightly different in terms of how we portray our product by using this virtual compared to this on the ground or in reality when they go to the place. But we believe that we can assist in terms of identifying as long as still related to our trust, which is stated in the Malaysia Productivity Blueprint.
Eddie, saya ingat perkara ni, 2 perkara ni boleh kita bincang lah dekat tourism productivity nexus. Get ni Nazarina untuk organize. We need to get all the required information. Kita kena duduk, betul-betul kita diagnose, dan kita bilang. Boleh?
Yeah, I think it's good, Dato. So at least we have some the evidence-based policy which we collect from the ground, and then from there we put forward in terms of what you call the micro economic perspective, how we can assist the industry, which is yes, we can assist them from that perspective. Yeah.
Thank you. We are running out of time. Maybe Hans, do you have anything? Hans, do you have anything to say? Okay, everything. Go ahead.
Dato' Latif, Tuan Huzaidi, actually I have a suggestion here. I hope that MPC can really look into it. It's regarding productivity. At MPC, the cases now, okay, and we have this plan pemulihan negara fasa 1 sampai fasa 4. If you study on the cases and the fasa together, and also put in the vaccination, the route to recovery for tourism industry, it will be very challenges and very tough. And just now we also listened to Dato' Alex from Langkawi, right? As Langkawi is our macam flagship for the travel bubbles and also opening for the tourism. But you have to see that productivity from Klang Valley, which is Kuala Lumpur and Selangor, of course, we cannot go into fasa 2 or fasa 3 if we
based on the case affected every day. But looking at our kadar vaccinasi, actually Selangor and Kuala Lumpur is already achieved 50% and even higher. But so in this case, I think we need Dato' Latif need to advise to the water or whatever departmental related to form up a committee for the recovery on tourism industry. If we keep locking down Klang Valley, I think other states also will not benefit because the most people who want to travel is from Klang Valley, and the most people have been vaccinated, lengkap vaksinasi, is also from Klang Valley. If you still keep these vaccinated people in Klang Valley on lockdown, tak boleh melentas negeri, it will not help the industry. We have been proposed so many times to the government to say that let those vaccinated people to travel, and we want them to travel into bubbles. But it seems that government maybe not understand what is so-called travel bubbles, and they don't know how effective the travel bubble will be implemented. That's why I totally agree with what Dato' Latif said today is the implementation, like SOP not clear, and also a lot of these so-called not clear challenges on this recovery. So I would like to propose to MPC really look into the productivity. MPC have do a very great job to help the industry player to upgrade our productivity. But on the other way, what about our counterparts that we need to work hand in hand, because we are not the one who say buka or tutup, and we cannot always with unclear SOP. Kadang-kadang A, kadang-kadang B, lepas U-turn, everything. Actually, we cannot afford that anymore. Sometimes we think that we actually can survive, but sometimes we are die because of the tutup, buka, tutup, something policy like this. So we must have a very clear like direction from the government, and the government also needs to listen to the player suggestion. Today's forum, I think, is very good because I can hear a lot, from MPC and also from the player, that we can come into one conclusion. That's why I would like to suggest MPC to take a lead, but that will be a lot of job load for Tuan Uzaidi lah. So I hope this thing can be grow along the way, and we get our tourism industry back to the standard that we want as fast as we can make it somewhere in October. If we don't move from now, if we don't give whatever from now, like the announcement say, now you can go to hotel, you can go to homestay, tapi hotel pun dah tutup pun. With the meeting letter, hotel can already do business. And if you announce that now we open up the hotel, open up the homestay, it actually doesn't relevant to what happening. Dia nampak macam
hotel tak boleh buka.
That's all. Okay.
Hotel tak boleh buka in fasa 1. Hotel is not allowed to open or operate in phase 1. So no encouraging travelers.
Yes, but you must have a very smart way, because we don't the information doesn't transparent. Okay, for example, who are getting the cases is from where? Like Klang Valley is so huge and so big. Our population is about 10 million. So out of the 10 million, is one day only 8,000 cases. It's not that high. If you compare with the population, it's not that high. So we must get into the root and study on this one. Where are these people effective from? We have to be very smart and we need a lot of data on that. Because if Klang Valley cannot perform, what about other states? Can they perform?
Exactly. Just now, just like Dato Alex, Dato Alex said, talking about the the citizen to criticize all this tourism that opens and the livelihood don't care about livelihood. So it's the two things we have to measure and balance it. So it's very hard. So I think government, I'm not citing any government or whatever, but the government is working hard. That is true. The transparency data must be released. So I think what we have to do now, we have to encourage people to brainwash all the citizens of Malaysia to live with the virus and become an endemic. But the thing is a vaccination. We must reach a vaccination percentage in certain like 60 or 80%. Then only we can talk about the endemic. Now we cannot talk about endemic.
Okay, all right. Okay, may I, Zaidi? Yes. Yeah, yeah. Hey, okay. Good evening, Dato' Abdul Latif.
Good evening, Datuk Tangga. We miss you, Datuk.
Just a quick one. I think first one, I think I will talk about the TTC where Zahida has put it up. Updating you at the moment, TTC has been postponed till end of the year because of the request by all the associations. Moment. So next year only we'll be talking about TTC. But TTMC, it is a requirement only those who want to join the travel agency, they are willing to come into travel agency, they have to do the TTMC. Okay, coming back to me, I think in my view, yesterday's newspaper or today's newspaper, we are already, the Prime Minister already announced for tourism within the state, people, those who are phase two is declared, but definitely Selangor and Federal Territory still in phase one. But I feel a matter of time, according to the National Recovery Plan, our phase 2, 3, and 4 will be in October. But looking into the current status, I think we will achieve by October phase 2 or 3. But once we achieve phase 2, I think there will be travel bubble. At the moment, there are about 7 states or 8 states already in phase 2. So coming back to, it is a matter of time. We have to, like Andy have said, we have to follow the SOPs on that. Okay, that is just a little bit of my thoughts for the two young ladies who have presented. And my subject is, at the moment, the pandemic period time, we have been really hit hard. So some are able to sustain with whatever their savings they had, but others are lost. They are lost and in dilemma. We do not know what to do. So we are seeing the rays of the light at the moment, but your advice to change, Dato' Abdul Latif, you said that we have to change. That is very prominent. I would say it is very, very prominent and important. But change, we need change and we need creativity and innovation. We do not have guidance at the moment. With the new norm, with the current new norm, the whole thing has been turned over already. I mean, turned down already. The industry is now in a dilemma. So we need something, some guidance from MPC, how to have a new creativity and innovation. It is from MPC is the one creativity, innovation and productivity. So we request MPC with the collaboration of the industry players to come up with a program which will be a guidance to all of us to the springboard. So otherwise, the takeoff will be wobbly and productivity will be slow. So I leave it to you, Dato' Abdul Latif. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato' Tangga. Thank you, Dato' Tangga. Thank you very much. I agree with you. Dr. Jayadi, we can work up on that. We've got good, resource person. We can get people to do a lot of, lateral thinking. Also assessing, their present, product, business model and all that. We have been doing that. Probably, I agree with Dato' Tangga. We should be extending out our helping hand to assist, the tourism players on how to go about coming up with new things, being creative and all that. And one more thing, Zaidi, you are also aware we are going to have a discourse session with Tansi Hisham. I think many of the questions, especially brought up by me, we can address it to Tansi because Tansi sits in the National Security Council. MPC does not. We will have to go to our minister. So maybe some of these questions can be directed straight to the DC of Tansi Hisham, which we have scheduled somewhere next month. Am I right, Dr. Jayadi?
Dato'. Correct, Dato'. 3rd September, Dato'.
3rd September. So I think some of these questions we can really direct to him. Kalau boleh kita hantar awal lagi pada dia. Don't wait until the date. Saya bagi awal supaya dia dia boleh respon awal dulu.
Dato' Latif, Alex here again.
Yeah.
Last year bila kita buka balik, because I'm in the cruise business, so it was very different for KKM and all that. They actually inspected my boat 3 times, KKM, PDRM semua, and they saw my SOPs. Kita ni SOP lebih ketat dari apa yang di requirement oleh MKN-nya. And they were very happy at our SOPs on the boat and also in my restaurant. I also have a restaurant. We took it a stage above what was required. And that way we made our guests feel safe. So that is one of the things I think a lot of travel agents will have to apply. The new norm, you need to make your guests feel safe. We have taken it, we applied it last year, we are doing it this year. Of course, this year we are adding one more. Only vaccinated guests. Of course, you lose some business, but for the safety of my staff and all that, I think it's the new norm, Dato'. We are ready. Langkawi, a lot of us, I mean, agents and hoteliers and all that, we are ready to accept. Yes, itu opinion saya, Dato'. Nanti kena marah pula.
We are ready, but we have to take care of our staff also.
You take one step, back, but you're actually leaping, towards with 4-5 steps ahead. It's called investment lah. Yeah. Okay, Zaidi, I think some of these things we can bring up, to the TPN platform. We can address. We need to have, probably a little more information so that we can build up our case. Right? And then the request made by Datuk Tangga, I think would not be a problem. I think Dr. Nudaidi can look into that. We can do this thing online, but you remember when Dr. Isha facilitated the session, Dr. Nudaidi, I think Dr. Isha is good. We should be able to bring you to look at things in a different manner. I think that will provide some direction about doing things differently. Over to you back, Dr. Zaidi.
So, we're running out of time. We're supposed to end up the session at 10:30, but now it's nearly 11. Perhaps Liz actually dia baru naik pentas ni. Liz, ada anything tak Liz? Before kita nak tutup ni. Nak tutup apa? Anything from spa industry? Subscribe. Liz? Tak ada minyak nak?
Ada. Assalamualaikum. Selamat malam semua. Dato' Abdul Latif, ada inilah. Saya daripada spa industri ni. Satu je yang kami minta. Pertama ada dua perkara. Satu, situasi di mana kami masih lagi tidak memahami situasi di mana sekiranya sektor direct contact iaitu sektor spa ni tidak dibenarkan. Jadi persoalannya kenapa kedai gunting rambut dibenarkan? Adakah kedai gunting rambut itu tidak direct contact? Itu satulah pertanyaan yang rasanya Cik Zaidi malam tu saya ada bertanya, memang pihak MKM pun tak boleh nak jawab benda tu. Itu satu. Keduanya, saya memang kita harapkanlah MPC dapat membantu macam mana pun kita boleh discuss further. Yang keduanya adalah kita sangat mohon kerajaan supaya lifted negative list ni. Kenapa negative list diletakkan even pasal 3 pun spa spa urutan wellness manicure pedicure masih dalam negative list. Sedangkan kecantikan boleh dilaksanakan kecantikan kalau kita cakap tentang facial pun juga direct contact juga. Itu yang kami tak faham, industri tak faham. Itulah dia.
Okey. Sebenarnya memang tadi apa Datuk kata, kita kumpulkan soalan-soalan ni, kita akan tanya pada Tan Sri Hisham, KP of Kegiatan. Mungkin Datuk ada anything to respond Datuk before kita end up session.
Syam from LPNS, ada soalan lah Syam.
Syam daripada Seremban. Okey, silakan Syam.
Datuk, quick one Datuk Latif, Syam from Seremban. Okay, actually saya nak mungkin boleh bawa Datuk boleh bawa peraya ni dalam isu TPN. Kita lupa satu perkara iaitu pembangunan pemerkasaan pelancongan di PBT Kalau kita lihat, kita ada 3 tingkat kerajaan, kerajaan persekutuan, kerajaan negeri dan kerajaan PBT, ketepatan. Tapi banyak pembangunan ataupun tumpuan kepada peringkat persekutuan dan negeri. Pembangunan di PBT tidak dilakukan. Oleh demikian, banyak faktor yang kita tidak dapat dilakukan dengan lebih tepat, lebih efektif ataupun lebih dekat di PBT. Saya mengambil contoh, di beberapa PBT di Malaysia, masih ada lagi unit-unit pelancongan atau jabatan pelancongan yang memfokuskan pembangunan pelancongan di PBT. Kalau kita lihat, yang di peringkat grassroots yang paling penting, segi pelaksanaan projek dia, segi pemantauan undang-undang dia, sebab PBT yang melihat semua perkara ini. Di peringkat federal dan negeri hanya membuat dasar dan turunkan duit. Saya ambil contoh. Contohnya kerajaan persekutuan bagi duit untuk buat projek hantar ke negeri. Dan negeri nak laksanakan hantar ke PBT. Dia sampai ke PBT, siapa nak sambut? Adakah jabatan-jabatan lain untuk laksanakan projek tersebut? Kalau kita ada jabatan pelancongan yang khas jabatan pelancongan atau unit pelancongan khas, mereka boleh melihat kepada pembangunan pelancongan di PBT mereka. Oleh demikian, mungkin Datuk di MPC boleh lihat penumbuhan jabatan pelancongan mungkin di peringkat pembandaran dan bandaraya atau penumbuhan unit pelancongan di peringkat majlis daerah. Ini mungkin boleh dikolaborasi bersama pihak KPKT ataupun pihak JKT Datuk. Sekian Datuk.
Bagus sekali dia point tu. So, any input Datuk?
Okay, apa ni, Cik Zaidi, we've got a lot of, I would say, quite a handful of issues being brought up. Now, since we have got, I think the action that we have taken by having this tourism nexus, productivity nexus, is the right move, right? So it's going to be a collaboration between the private sector and also the government. So I'm sure we have got these issues, recorded, listed. I think we can use the tourism productivity nexus platform to deliberate further. As I said, we need to have proper information. We need to build our case. As Dr. Najadi mentioned, jadi guna perkataan apa tadi, polisi apa ni, evidence based policy making lah, ataupun evidence based decision making, yeah. So that once we have this information, we build up our case together with what options that we have that we can recommend, so that all this we can facilitate the respective party to make decision, rather than we escalate these issues, bring up to the regulators, ministries. We are just bring up issues. Sometimes they may not be able to come up with the right kind of solution. So the industries understand better. I think you will have to come from industry. So what I can suggest here, the secretariat, which is basically MPC, going to work with the champion of the tourism nexus. We are going to dwell, we're going to deep dive some of these issues that we brought up. At the same time, some of these issues also we will also address together during our engagement. With DG Dato' Noh Hisham, we can even get him to be our probably spokesman. At the National Security Council meeting. I hope some of these issues can really, make sense and trigger him to get it raised. It may not be at the National Security Council. I think KKM, which is, I would say, a very strategic member, especially under the situation that we are all in. I think what they say also really counts, and they have got also the influence, to influence some of the decision maker. So, the Zaidi, my team is going to work closely, right, with your good self to address, I think, some of the issues that have been brought up by members of the discussion this evening.
Thank you very much, Dato'. In the time now 11 p.m.
We have extra.
Sorry, man. I just got one question quickly. Sorry. Dato', sorry. Thank you for the time, and thank you for the time that you are spending with us. Dato', I'm in the tourism industry as a foreigner, right? Our industry has been closed since last year, March, April, basically, with basically zero of opening this year, especially in the diving industry. So instead of sitting around and wondering what we're going to do, we decided to look outside of Malaysia to expand or to do businesses outside of Malaysia. But we're still getting hampered by the government with Malaysia Travel Pass that they have implemented. That means every time we need to travel outside of Malaysia, you need to apply for a travel pass, and then it gets rejected because they say it's not essential travel. We're trying to save our business without closing it down, and then the government is still hampering us. You know, it's like they are preventing us from doing business because they've zero vision or productivity. You know, it's like that. Alex said, the government productivity and is not up to standard. We can't depend on government grants to keep our businesses open. So it's like you said earlier also, you need to extend our vision, and that's what we try to do, but we're getting hampered. Is there any way that this travel pass system can be re-looked at and for businesses, you know, we can travel for fun or pleasure or social, it's for businesses, and the places we travel to, we have strict SOPs in place. We test it every week. We have to do the PCR tests. We have to do quarantine when we get here. We've got to do quarantine before we leave. It's in the oil and gas industry, so we are doing diving in the oil and gas industry at the present moment.
All right. Thank you, Hans. Thank you for your questions. I think, like Dato said, why don't we have a special session together with MPC, deep dive into all these issues that we hope we are able to get details the evidence base, then we are able to convince the Secretariat, especially Malaysia Muda, to bring these issues, these specific issues.
Hans, thank you for bringing up. I assure you my team will get in touch with you. We need to get detail of that. We will need to do some analysis so that we can really bring up strong case. We will then engage with the right authority. We need also to identify the authorities, they have got a stake on this matter and also the one that make decision. So I assure you that we're going to work with you, but we're going to use the tourism productive nexus, led by Uzaidi. We want to be seen as a private sector driven kind of initiative.
No problem. Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dato. I think time's already up.
Yeah.
Our tourism industry, we learn a lot. How the policies and regulation can boost the business productivity. We learn what has MPC has done. The industry players can voice out concerns and policies and regulations. We learn a lot about the success stories from what MPC has done. We learn about the future plan and also the moving forward and making sure that the industry survive and probably celebrating together all parties, not only the industry players but the other stakeholders like PBT, like what Sham has said, PBT. So I think it's good. Tonight it's a good discussion. And we hope that it won't stop here. Tonight is not the only night. You can get together in a serious way so that we can have more evidence of these cases to build up the evidence cases for us to bring it up to the higher level. With that, I would like to extend my thanks to Dato Abdul Latif, who has spent a fantastic time with us and give us a lot of insights, a lot of advice for us. And we also like to thank to all our fans here, especially Andy, Zahira, Dato Min, Amran, we have Dato Tangga, we have Dato Albert, we have everybody here. So Dato Alex all the way from Langkawi. Perhaps nanti bila dah buka Langkawi ni kita serbu kapal layar Dato.
Yep. Every Monday. Thank you. What a fruitful session. Very thank you, Dato' Alif. Thank you. Stay safe, stay strong, stay safe. Good night. Thank you.